Investigation into MH370 disappearance to continue. Religious institutions urge to actively counter terrorism and extremism. You're watching the evening edition of News On 2. I'm Adrian Seat. Transport Minister Datuk Sri Liao Tiong Lai says the investigation into the 2014 disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 will continue. He said Ocean Infinity, a seabed exploration company based in the US, which has offered to do a private research for the airline, will search the 25,000 square kilometre expanse identified by a panel of experts.
The government has given us the commitment that we will continue with the search for MH370. Very important. That is the good news for all of us, good news for all the NOK, that we are continuing with the search. But I don't want to give too much hope or too high hope to the NOK because we have to be very consistent that we are committed to look for answers for the NOK of MH370.
Datuk Sri Liao said the basis of the offer from Ocean Infinity is based on no cure, no fee, adding that the contract will be finalised by next week. The expanse joins the original search zone far southwest of Australia that was identified through a satellite analysis of the final hours of the flight, which apparently ended when the plane ran out of fuel. The aircraft vanished during a flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing on March the 8th of 2014 with 239 people on board. Reiterating that the nation's peace and security is the government's top priority, Datuk Sri Najib Tun Razak says his administration is actively working to ensure that terrorists and their supporters do not gain a foothold in the country.
There has been only one Daesh-linked attack in Malaysia so far, in which, thankfully, no lives were lost. But we have to be prepared. We must ensure that our police, our security services have all the tools necessary to combat those who would inflict death and destruction on our soil.
Speaking at the closing of the Putrajaya International Security Dialogue, or PISD 2018 today, Datuk Sri Najib further disclosed that terror cells continue to pose a serious and potent threat in Malaysia as well as in the Southeast Asian region. He confirmed that 95 Malaysians have been identified as Daesh members in Syria and Iraq, adding that out of the total 34 were killed, 8 have returned and arrested, while the remainder consisting of 36 adults and 17 children are believed to be still active in both the countries. Meanwhile, Datuk Sri Najib said the role of religious institutions should not only be to propagate beliefs but also to actively counter terrorism and extremism. He called on religious experts and institutions to become more engaged and innovative in coming up with methods to counter extreme ideologies and distorted narratives about religious obligations.
Internationally, the countries represented here today have intensified cooperation on a number of fronts. Among our security forces, enhancing our technologies and capabilities, sharing intelligence, timely and accurate intelligence, the propaganda, the insidious narrative of Daesh and their fellow travelers is cunning and slick. We have to do everything in our power to explain exactly why their actions are the very opposite of what Islam stands for.
Datuk Sri Najib asserted at the forum that moderation was a crucial shield against extreme ideologies, radicalization and terrorism. He said Malaysia's approach in utilizing moderation to solve conflicts and problems was proven effective in its role as a facilitator in carving out peace plans for conflicts in the southern Philippines and South Thailand. Meanwhile, Malaysia has offered to share its experience of implementing its militant de-radicalization program with other countries, particularly those facing conflicts associated with terrorism. Speaking to the media after the closing of the Putrajaya International Security Dialogue or PISD 2018, Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said Malaysia is prepared to share its expertise in de-radicalisation, seeing that it has achieved a high rate of success at 97.5%.
Di dalam hal ini, apa yang kita mahu tekankan bukan hanya sekadar melayani isu-isu terorisme, ekstremisme dan militansi ini dengan kaedah-kaedah kepolisan dan ketenteraan, tetapi adalah bagi menangani minda mereka, jiwa mereka, kerana ini adalah soal ideologi, soal belief yang pada kita is been misinterpreted, dan kita lihat ini adalah merupakan satu usaha yang harus melibatkan pelbagai agensi di peringkat antarabangsa.
The two-day high-profile discourse on international security issues themed Wisdom and Moderation in Combating Terrorism was organized by the Home Ministry in collaboration with Saudi state-funded non-governmental organization Rabitha Al-Alami Al-Islami. The Terengganu Education Department has applied for a 400,000 ringgit allocation for repair works on schools which have sustained damages following the monsoon season since November of last year. State Education Department Director Shafruddin Ali Hussein said the damages were not only due to floods but also strong winds which had damaged the roofs and ceilings of the schools.
Sebagai contoh, sekolah di Hulu Terengganu dan atap di sekolah Padang Miding sendiri, sedangkan dia tidak kena banjir kan, tapi sebenarnya sepatutnya mereka faham kita di Terengganu ni kita bukan saja dinaiki air, tetapi kita juga dilanda angin yang sangat kuat.
He added that repair works on the schools have already begun with the ministry's permission. 7 states have been given the 5-star rating for efficiency and effectiveness of their flood management measures. Now, Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Datuk Sri Shahidan Kasim, said the states are Sabah, Johor, Pahang, Terengganu, Sarawak, Perak and Selangor. Speaking in Membakut, Sabah, the minister added that Kelantan received a 4-star rating due to slight problems in the management of their relief centres. However, he noted that once the issue is resolved, the East Coast state will receive the additional star.
Jadi pada keseluruhannya, dengan sedikit pembaikan, kita dapat 5 star lah di Kelantan. Di Penang kita belum habis lagi pembinaan. Semua orang yang pindah ni kita akan pertimbangkan warisan.
On another note, Datuk Sri Shahidan said requests from disaster management agencies for certain aid to improve the effectiveness of their work, such as water tank and basic repair works, have already been approved. Datuk Sri Shahidan today visited 3 relief centres in Membakut, namely Membakut Multipurpose Hall, Sekolah Menengah St. Patrick and the Kafa building. Now, volunteers from the Petronas Eastern region are on standby to help those affected by floods to clean their houses once flood waters recede. The volunteers will be assigned based on the needs and requests.
Kita juga bersama dengan anak syarikat Petronas, pertama di Pahang, kita akan mengerahkan sekolah relawan kalau perlu untuk membuat kebersihan, membersih kawasan-kawasan awam seperti sekolah, belah raya dan sebagainya.
Wan Muhammad Hasnan Abdullah was met after handing over contributions to 200 families affected by the floods at the Pahang Sports Complex in Kuantan. The National Road Safety Council calls on the government to enforce a longer mandatory prison sentence for negligent drivers who could threaten the lives of other road users. Now, according to council member Tan Sri Lam Tai, enforcement and enforcing such law could overcome reckless driving attitudes, especially amongst drivers of heavy vehicles. Currently, Section 41, Subsection 1 of the Road Transport Act 1987 imposes a jail sentence between 2 to 10 years and a fine of up to 20,000 ringgit for reckless driving. Meanwhile, driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs and causing death or injury to others may be charged under Section 44, Subsection 1 of the same Act, carrying a jail term of 3 to 10 years and a fine of 8,000 to 20,000 ringgit. Tan Sri Lee said the proposal for a longer jail sentence was timely as the lives of passengers and the public rests on the drivers of buses and other heavy vehicles. The proposal was made following recent fatal accidents that could have been prevented had the drivers been more careful. The latest crash happened on January the 3rd, where a Singaporean family perished after a lorry crashed into their car at the Lukut-Sepang intersection in Port Dickson. Financial problems caused 7 out of 8 children from the family of a military personnel, Muhammad Saad, aged 39, and wife, Rosilawati Josu, to drop out of the current schooling session in Sungai Petani, Kedah. Of his 8 children, 2 are disabled and were previously schooling at Sekolah Pendidikan Khas Taman Ria in Sungai Petani. According to Kedah Education Exco, who is also the Tanjung Dawai Assemblyman, Dato' Tajul Urus Mat Zain, 7 of the siblings aged 6 to 15 were still schooling last year. Dato' Tajul gave his assurance that he will help the children return to school as soon as possible, while the 2 disabled children will each be given a 150 ringgit allowance. He will also meet with the armed forces to provide him and his family a quarters within the military camp so that he can be back on duty, as he has been taking leave for the past 2 months.
Tetapi saya dah berunding dengan pihak dalam kem tentera. Mereka pun dah mencadangkan supaya Mak Saad duduk dalam kem. Ada quarters kem. Di sana mana dia pengangkutan tak perlu. Sekolah pun ada dalam kem.
Muhammad Saad's financial woes began when he took a housing loan worth 190,000 ringgit in 2013, which required him to pay 1,600 ringgit a month. 2 men reported missing after going out for crab fishing at the swampy area near the Demak Laut Customs residential area in Kuching, Sarawak were found safe this morning. Zone 1 Fire and Rescue Department Chief Gregory Kurung Suen said both victims, identified as Mas Zidi Muhammad, 31, and Budiman Jenny, 32, were found at 8:30 a.m. 2 kilometers away from where they were reported missing. Now, the victims were trying to find their way out of the area when they were discovered by the search and rescue team. Family members of both victims lodged a report when the duo did not return home after going out fishing for crabs since 3 p.m. yesterday. Now, a coach for an amateur football club who was arrested by the Malaysia Anti-Corruption Commission, or MACC, in Seremban yesterday will be remanded for 5 days from today for alleged involvement in match fixing. The remand order was issued by Magistrate Rahimah Rahim in Seremban Special Remand Court. The suspect arrived at the Seremban Magistrates Court at 10:05 a.m. dressed in orange lock-up attire. The remand order was issued so that the MACC can complete the investigation according to Section 16, Subsection B, Subsection A of the MACC Act 2009. The accused is believed to have paid a sum of 80 to 100 ringgit to all players and his team officers to ensure they lose in a match at the People's Football League back in November of last year. During the match, which involved his team and another team from another district, his team was defeated badly, raising suspicions of foul play. News on to, in our top story, investigation into MH370 disappearance to continue. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon for more updates. Until then, I'm Adrian Seed. Good night. Thanks for watching. Tamil Bulletin is up next.